room. He is an artist, he's a coach, he's a poet, he's the founder of Create Community. He is on a mission to remind you that you are seen, heard, and loved. And today he's going to be talking about the art of choosing love. So, with that, Adam, welcome to Emergence Festival.
Yo, yo, what's up, fam? Thank you for the warm welcome, Chelsea. We made it happen. It only took like a bunch of months, but we made it happen and we lined it up. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be a part of this festival. I'm switching over to gallery view so I can see all of your lovely faces. I enjoy anyone who's willing to be on camera with me, because then it feels like I'm actually not alone in a room by myself, but here with all of you. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the art of choosing love, and to get more specific and juicy into that, to give you some incentive to stay for the entire thing. I'm going to start by talking about why men will never be enough for women. So that's where we're gonna start. If that's intriguing enough, little cliffhanger, because that's just the way it is. It is just the way it is, and that will transition into some relationship stuff about choosing love and navigating relationship. And I'm going to save some time for Q&A because I think that's really important. And whenever I'm in a space like this, I don't want this to feel just like a lecture or anything like that. I want this to be something interactive to give the most value to all of you. And since we're all here and there's no actual random coincidence, this is divine synchronicity that we're all in this space right now. That means that the question that will come alive for you, what you have, will most likely be something that has a lot of value for others in the space. So all I ask is for you to show up and be as present as you can, because your presence is your gift. And your presence, bringing your presence to it, is the thing that's going to alchemize with the information and the frequency of my consciousness, and therefore allow you to adjust, shift, and hopefully better your life in the direction you want it to go. So that's where I'm at. You can tell I'm charged up, I'm lit, I'm ready to go. I'm excited to be a part of this. Can I see in the chat, can everyone just leave one word? How are you feeling right now? In the chat, how are you feeling right now? Excited, sleepy, curious, calm, fruity. I like that. I don't know that I've seen that one. Relaxed, fabulous. Who said fruity? Where's David? David, I like that. I like that. What up, brother? Yeah, fruity. I like that. Happy, honored, psyched. Ooh, good. Open. Yes. Tired. Great. Fantastic. So out of Genevieve, just respect to Genevieve and everything that you have learned. And I know I just said a bunch of stuff really fast. I want to give everyone an opportunity to close your eyes and just take a few breaths, just a few breaths, to let what you learned integrate, so that you can trust that it's in there and it's not immediately being overridden by the stuff that I'm going to say. So we're just going to take a few breaths together and arrive in the space. Finding your own individual breath. As much as we are a part of a collective, this journey of life begins and ends with your breath. And now we are going to sync up all of our energy together, starting by exhaling all of your air. And inhale. Exhale. We're going to do 2 more of those. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale as deep as you can. Exhale. And setting the intention that we all be open and willing vessels for the highest frequencies of love and light to be transmitted through the words that I speak and to be received both by me and by you, so that that frequency of love and light might alchemize with the cells of our body, so that it may ripple out in every word that you speak and every thought that you have, every action that you take, so that this moment, this gift of presence that we are all choosing to share, be the beginning of a ripple of impact, the true ROI of this experience, so that we can continue to elevate the consciousness of this planet into deeper levels of love and light and joy and play and pleasure. As we intend it, so it shall be. Aho. All right, fam. You can return to the space, eyes opening up. Okay. I want to start off with a poem. And I wrote this poem after my last breakup in December. And I'm doing great now, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. I'm doing fantastic. And this poem was written after that, and it will encapsulate an energy that I had at the time that will be the foundation for what I want to start with and get into. Okay. So this poem is called Us. And I invite you to drop in to receive this with one deep inhale, exhale. You asked, how can I know you love me? How can I trust in us? I said, don't you worry, my dear, I will give you the heavens above. I wanted to give you the moon, but you said it was not bright enough. So I tried to give you the sun, but you said it was too hot to touch. So I searched and searched for something that would keep you warm at night, that should help you find your way, that could be your guiding light. The stars too small, so I tried to collect them all. I moved mountains to ease your path. I put a ring of Saturn on each of your fingers, which was no easy task. Picked out every piece of salt so the whole ocean could be your bath. Spent all day sweeping clouds away so it wouldn't rain unless you asked. Caught lightning in a bottle. Learned how to speak into the wind, hoping that each time I said I love you, you might finally breathe it in. But it seemed like no matter what I did, something never was quite right. The fire kept on burning out, and with it went the light. So tired, worn, and weary, I finally gave up, came to you, asked for a clue. Why was none of it enough? You smiled sadly at me then, kissed my cheek, a gentle touch, said, I can see you've tried so hard. You have given me so much. But you never needed to do those things. I never asked for any of them. It was you who pulled down Saturn's rings and cleaned out all the oceans. All I wanted was some warmth, to know I'm safe when times get hard, a light to help me find my way back home when things get dark. So while the moon was dim and the sun too hot, you had the answer from the start. Deep within what can't be bought, what I wanted was your heart. And on that day, I learned a lesson that I hope I can pass to you. So the next time you're asked that question, how do I know our love is true? You'll know the answer is in all the little things you do. It's the way you listen to her breathe when she falls asleep at night. The way you never make her wrong even when she isn't right. It's how you never shy away from her eyes when they're full of rage. She feels safe to scream until she cries because you're there to wipe her tears away. It's the way you rest your hand so gently around her hips so other women can clearly see he's proud that she is his. There's a warmth in feeling claimed. She knows you won't give up without a fight. That's how she knows she can trust your love. That's how your heart becomes her light.
Hashtag.
It's funny how a piece of art, even after so much time, right? Like we create it and it encapsulates a time and a place and an emotion and a feeling, and like it can bring us right back. Like that song from high school where you're just like, oh my God, my first kiss. And thank you. I see you in the comments, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I was going through this breakup and I felt as if I had given everything. I'd given my everything. And it just wasn't enough. It never seemed to be enough. And I was torn up about it. I felt I felt like not enough, because I thought the answer was that I just didn't give enough. If I had given the right combination of things, or if I had given more, that somehow, some way, it would have worked out differently. And then I started really diving more deeply into the energetics of masculine and feminine energy. Okay. And I want to, as a disclaimer, I want to speak to the fact that masculine and feminine energy, as we step into a more sensitive era and deeper compassion for, non-gender normative pronouns, and also recognizing that even putting masculine and feminine as the descriptives on energy like that already gives it this container that may not necessarily be true. For the sake of this conversation, most people are more familiar with masculine, feminine energy. I will often use yin and yang to describe those energy. You can use dominant, submissive. You could use, whatever works best for you. And I mean no disrespect around it. But if I do say masculine, feminine, just understand that it's for simplicity's sake at this stage. And the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, right? And so there is a dance between the yin and the yang that is recognizing that there are these polarities, there are these two ends that give us the necessary energetic friction, so to speak, to create from. We get birthed from. It allows us this. If it just was one direction, we don't actually have the dance. We don't have the container to dance within. Okay. And it's important to have an understanding of how these energies actually dance together and what happens, and so that we can spot when they are useful and how we can dance with them, or how we're now entering into a resistance or a shadow aspect of them that is no longer useful. One thing about when we talk about yang energy, masculine energy, we're talking about the go. We're talking about the go. We're talking about the fill. We're talking about the penetrate. Literally, like it is in our anatomy. We want to penetrate. We want to fill, and so that is that energy, and we figure out how to do that thing. And when it comes to the yin energy, and we talk about the feminine energy, it is the energy of receptivity. You are the receiver. Okay. The receiver of that energy. And so generally we all have, is everyone aware that you have both of these energies within you? Yin and yang, everyone aware of that? Okay. Oftentimes, and most often, you will see the females be in the deeper embodiment of the feminine energy. They are more dominated by that yin energy. And it is also mirrored in the anatomy, meaning you are the receiver. You are the receiver, not just in the act of creation itself through the act of sex as receiving. You receive the penis, you receive the seed, and you receive the soul when making a baby. You literally receive life. You receive creation itself within you. First of all, I'm super jealous. That's incredible. That's amazing. I don't even know that, like, I hope you understand the power that's there, that is to be able to receive. And as men, we get to have so much respect for just the capacity of what it must mean to be able to receive creation itself in all of those forms into your body, and then gestate that over 9 months and birth an entirely new soul out into this existence. Like, what the fuck? That's incredible. And so now, understanding that creation itself, you're literally receiving a soul, the entirety of a soul in yourself, that you are receiving creation itself, and creation is limitless. Creation is infinite, which means that within you, you have, not only do you have the capacity to receive the infinite, you actually crave the infinite. You crave creation itself, which means that you crave more and more and more and more and more and more. Make sure I'm on do not disturb. More and more and more and more. And that is an inherent aspect of the yin energy, the receiving energy, that it will always want more. Always, always. And this is perfect for the evolution of both of these polarizing these energies fit together just so perfectly, because the greatest karmic wound of the yang energy, of the masculine energy, is that we are never enough. That no matter what we do, we will never be enough for you. Men, can I see a show of hands? You know what I'm talking about? Yes, yes, yes. As a man, that I am not enough. My dick's not big enough. I'm not good enough in bed. I don't make enough money. I'm not man enough. Whatever it is, that I am not enough for you. And the greatest karmic wound of the feminine, of the yin energy, is that you're too much. That the masculine can't actually hold all of you. That if you actually let it be known, all of you, and you bring all of your emotions and all of your desires and all of your wants, and that part of you that wants it, and you bring all of that to a man or to the masculine or your partner or whatever in that way, and you to life in that way, that you will be rejected for being too much. Women, do you agree? Do you recognize that wound, that fear, that deep fear? And so it's perfect in its design, because as you open to wanting more, the natural instinct of that yang energy is to fill that space. Literally, as a man, I want to fill the space that you give me. You want more intimacy? I want to fill it. You want more anything, I want to fill it. And the fear is that I won't be able to, but I want to. That's the yang energy. That is the pull. That is the magnetism, which is, again, the sides of the same coin. The very way that it's created is going to inherently create that shadow aspect of being worried, like I might not be enough. And so what happens is, now let's look at the dance of how this is beautifully aligned in actually being the design for our greatest soul's evolution, for love to expand to the greatest level, because these are the energies of creation itself, these yin and yang, right? So the design of them is not a flaw of God just saying, oh yeah, this will be really funny. Let's just like make them opposites and just watch them trigger each other's greatest wounds just for fun. It's in recognizing that the design is actually perfectly in place for the path of our greatest evolution. And how this works, dope hat, Chelsea. The way that this works, okay, is that in the yin energy, the receiving energy, it's an opening. It's in an opening. That opening happens, and I see Renee, actually, you hit the nail on the head. The opening happens when the yin energy feels safe, when the feminine energy feels safe, that I'm held within this container. You can handle this. I feel safe. I'm going to let more of myself open to you. And as a result of opening, I create space. That space often looks like, I want more. I want you to meet me in this space of intimacy, of physical connection, of creating an empire together, a kingdom together, of family, of quality time. Like whatever it is, I feel safe, and therefore I'm allowing myself to acknowledge I want more. The man, the masculine, the yang energy, gets to face off with the fear of I'm not going to be enough to fill that space, and overcome that fear. And through the process of overcoming fear, we expand to fill the very space that we have now been given. The space is created. The yang says, I want in, but to get in and fill it, I need to overcome the part of me that's still holding here, thinking I'm not going to be able to, and I expand. The moment I expand to fill all of you, you now feel safe enough to release and open and say, I want fucking more. I want more. Because you are the vessel for creation itself. You are capable of calling in more and more and more and more. And what just has happened in that cycle, okay, is that you are now able to expand yourself. The masculine is now able to face off with our fear and therefore expand ourselves, which then gives you the opportunity to feel safe enough, which is your greatest fear, which is that I'll be too much, I'm not safe, to face off with that fear and once again, expand yourself, and the cycle repeats. The cycle repeats. This is how divine union in its highest form presents us with the pathway of our greatest soul's evolution. This is how we are able to, through interacting, and by the way, this is happening within yourself. We have both energies, the yin and the yang, within each of us. So this is happening in yourself. So you can do it on your own, and we're not on this planet by ourselves. Your greatest evolution will come in relationship. Doesn't have to be romantic, just relationship. We are in relationship right now. This relating with other human beings. And so that is a fundamental understanding that I have developed over lots of crying, lots of feeling not enough, lots of writing poems, lots of that, and the exploration of just how it actually works. How does it actually work? I don't believe, the creator to be a sadist that just wants to just like create it in a way wherever it just the opposites. No, it's the necessary components. But where people get hung up is they get caught in the wound. They get caught in the wound. The part of me that feels like it's never enough. And I give in to that. And I say, yeah, I'm never going to be enough. And then I start to develop resentment. I start to spot all the ways in which this relationship is never going to work out because I'm never going to be enough. And because I don't want to admit the fact that I'm never going to be enough, that feels really vulnerable. I'm going to start gaslighting you. I'm going to start taking it out on the relationship. I'm going to start to cheat because I'm going to find ways in which I feel more masculine over here, where I feel more enough over here. So much of the masculine wounds of what we've seen now, of what people are calling toxic masculinity. I don't believe toxic masculinity exists. There's masculinity. And there's a way that masculinity presents itself when it's in its wound. And there's a way that masculinity presents itself when it's in its power. But there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. And so, and then in the feminine aspects, the yin aspects of recognizing, getting caught in the wound of never feeling or feeling like it's too much. And so there's the withhold. I'm not going to say what I really mean. The stereotype of like, what do you really mean? Just tell me what you're actually feeling. That stereotype, where does that come from? That comes from that wound. The claiming, the ownership of, I am claiming my power as a powerhouse, divine feminine woman, goddess, all of it. What we're seeing happening on this planet is also, it is hand in hand with saying, I am worthy, I am ready, I feel like I can claim what I want and what I desire because I'm ready to move past this fear that it'll be too much. And when we get caught in those wounds, we start to play out those stereotypes of why relationships don't work. Those stereotypes are just the manifestations of these wounds, and awareness gives us choice. Understand that awareness is not change. Awareness opens up new choices, and when you make new choices, you change. And so everything that I'm saying right now, you are not changed in this moment. You now have the opportunity to change how you are relating, how you are being with your entire reality around you, how you are being in your relationships, how you are being with yourself. You now have an opportunity to change through making new choices. This is an art, by the way. That's why it's the art of choosing love. There is an art to this. And so now's a good time. I want to open it up just to the floor. I'm tired of hearing my own voice. Does anyone have any questions, comments, anything that we can turn it to the floor right now?
I have a question.
Yes, Allison.
Hi.
Where are you from, Allison?
Southern New Jersey.
Southern New Jersey.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you going first and asking a question. What's your question?
So I am looking at transitions and shifts in my life, and I know that choice points come up for me to change my timeline, my trajectory, my patterns. So when it comes to choosing love and not choosing from operating from the wound, how would you recommend first, like noticing when you have a choice point and then moving through that with more ease?
Well, it's a good question. So thank you for asking it. And I think the framework the first piece that I will give you is changing the lens, which is that, because the question was how do you to recognize when you have a choice. You're making a choice in every single moment.
Mhm.
Like every single moment of existence, you are choosing the frequency at which you desire to be. Every single moment. And so that is when we talk about free will, right? The freedom you have is free will. That is ultimately what you have, that no one can take away from you, that you will always have, and is the choice that you are making in each and every moment. How am I choosing to hold my frequency in response to everything that's happening? And sometimes it's harder, right? Sometimes I just drank, like my friend has this tonic thing that's called Brain Fuel that has all these adaptogens and things, and I am responding in a different way than if I didn't have that. If when it's affecting me and how I choose to respond. When I don't get enough sleep, it will affect how I choose to respond. And then there's the external stuff. When someone says something that really triggers me, that's an external factor. When I'm really in an uncomfortable situation physically, like a cold plunge or a hot sauna or whatever, that's an external stimuli that's also affecting my internal, but I am still choosing to respond to all of that in each and every moment. The reason why I wanted to start there for your question is because when you recognize, well, like, how do I know when I have choice? That's not even, to me, a question. You always have choice. So so can you, with that as a framework, can you rephrase your question now?
So my question is, how can I more consistently choose from the frequency that is not the wound, choose to respond from a place that is not rooted in the wound?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So the number one indicator of this for all of us is our bodies, how it feels in our body. That is your compass. First and foremost is in each and every moment, how are you feeling in your body? And so one of the things that I'll do with clients and have them often work on is learning the nuances, the subtle nuances of your body. It's really easy to let's just do this real quick. This will be valuable for everyone. Everyone close your eyes just in this moment. We'll just go through something really quickly. I'm gonna do a very short, simple version of this. With your eyes closed, I want you to imagine the room that you're in right now. If someone opened the door and let in just 17 puppies, like 17 puppies into your room right now that are all just like, and they're like running up to you and they want to lick at you, and they got that furry puppy smell. Like someone should make a car freshener that is puppy smell. It's just like, what is that smell? It's addictive. Like puppies in your space right now. Okay. And then open your eyes, come back to the space. In that moment, it doesn't matter that there weren't actually puppies in the space. You had an opportunity to feel a more expansive feeling than you were feeling in that moment. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? For most people, some people, it's like, I don't know if you've been traumatized by puppies, it was just your worst nightmare, but that works in the other direction too, because it generally, I'll take people through a longer meditation and take them into like, now feel into a time that you feel like you were wronged or whatever, and feel what happens in that. Or you could feel into the last like person that you really saw and connected with that was homeless, right? Like those feelings, you can feel into it. It's a different feeling. And it moves you in what I call a contractive energetic versus an expansive energetic. And so when you start to pay attention to the body, this is an extreme example, but you start to recognize that your body will let you know what decisions are more expansive. because you don't have to have made the decision to know. Just like the puppies don't have to actually be there for you to experience the expansion. And so what it gets complicated, where it gets more tricky, is when it's not so obvious in the ends, but it becomes much more subtle. The decision of like, do I stay in my job or leave my job? Do I actually that's usually a bigger one, but do I go to this restaurant or that restaurant? And if you want to know, I work with very successful individuals in my one-on-one coaching practice. It's 3:33 where I am. Say, make a wish. Right? This is what us hippies got to do to keep it going. So oh, actually, hold on. Let me take my own advice. Let me make a wish. Great. So we have this more subtle, nuanced thing that happens when I'm working with my clients one-on-one. Oftentimes, I'll give them for a week or two the homework of as many decisions as you can make. You make them from this place. If you're trying to decide where to eat dinner, like pick 3 options and feel into those options and see if you can notice which one feels more expansive. And you start to notice like these subtleties. Because at the end of the day, the difference between the life that you want to be living as you start to walk the path of alignment, you're not off that path, so to speak. So those decisions aren't as massive all the time. They're these little nuanced things. And the way that you get better at making those choices is through understanding and reading your body. And that becomes a process of more and more nuance and subtlety. And so to go a step further into this, how you start to develop the awareness in those moments as well and increase the sensitivity to the subtleties are what I just shared with you, but also removing a bunch of the shit out of your system, the limiting beliefs, the fears, the doubts, the wounds, the PTSD, the heavy metals of your physical body, like all of the layers from your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. When you start to cleanse that stuff out, you start to gain clarity. It's like cleaning dirty water. You start to get more clarity, and that clarity provides you an opportunity to be more in touch with the subtleties as well. And so that is where the work is so nuanced and interwoven. Does that answer your question, Allison?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. Let's take one more question at this stage. Who's got one? Azuro.
Yes. First of all, I liked your talk with John Halcyon Stint, the Pink Heart, and I also cried a lot of times when I heard you in the other talk where this girl was, and she said like every time you I say something bad, you pick me up. And what about when you say something bad about yourself? But my question is more like about this topic, which is very helpful, which is very interesting for me. It's like you have this circle. So like this girl feels safe, opens up more space. You go into the space, fill up the space, try to be enough. Then the circle starts over again. Then it becomes like bigger and bigger, bigger. And the question is like, is there an end to that? Or are you just going until there's no tomorrow anymore? Don't know. Or is there something to one point until it could not be get bigger and you just go and find a different way to a different person or whatever?
So perfect. Thank you for that question. First of all, the fact that you know the one I did with John Halcyon means that you listen to my podcast or have listened to my podcast. So I really appreciate that. For those who don't know, I have a podcast called The Deep Dive. Shameless plug. It's on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and all the places that you can listen to it. If you liked the poem that I did, I actually released it. It's called Us, and it's on my podcast. You can listen to it. So thank you for being a deep diver. And so I think that I want to actually kind of read into your question a little bit, because the short answer is no. It never ends. That it will never end. That's just the way that it continues evolving. Chelsea said the evolution of humanity. It's not just humanity. It is the evolution of creation itself is ever expansive. It's this expansion upon expansion, creation upon creation. So that in and of itself is something that will not stop, and we don't want it to stop. So there's that. But what I'm hearing in that question, and maybe I'm just projecting, but like what I'm hearing in that question too, is a bit of the kind of like exhaustion around like, will I ever hit a point where it is enough? Or is it just constantly going to be just not enough, not enough, not enough? And so that in that is I think where we get caught up is even in the word enough, because enough implies that if you hit this point, then there's a like, it satiates. But the truth is that it's not about being enough or not. It's about recognizing that this is the path for your growth. Like this is how you grow, by seeing the opportunity where you are being called forward and saying, here's an opportunity to expand yourself to fill this space. That might look like, wow, I get to step up to start earning more money because I'm about to have a child. That might look like, wow, I get to step up and learn how to communicate more intimately because my partner and I are having disconnection. That might look like, wow, I get to step up and start taking care of my physical vessel in a new way because I'm having pain and I'm having digestive issues. Like the path of your evolution happens in the contrast and the space of recognizing where you have the areas to grow and expand yourself. And so when you take this in a different way and you look at it as, wow, look at the yin energy, look at this feminine energy that is always giving me an opportunity to expand. Instead of viewing it as, wow, look at the feminine energy that's always telling me I'm not enough, saying, wow, I'm being given an infinite potential for expansion. I am being given an infinite potential for expansion. It changes the feeling around it. It changes the feeling around it. And so my invitation to you in that question is, yeah, no, it will never stop. We don't want it to stop. And we get to adjust our relationship to it. That's why I explained it the way that I did, because it's not a bad thing. It's the design that is serving us for our greatest collective evolution. The misunderstanding of it and taking it as a personal slight that I am not enough is what is activating the triggers and causing so many people to act out their wounds. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. And it makes it much more easy to look at that. It's like giving me more opportunities sounds much better than having more space I have to fill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much.
Yeah, but it's not as cool of a title if I say, when I say why men will never be enough for women, like you're going to stay and listen. But if I just say why women are going to give infinite potential for our expansion, just a little less, just a little less. It's all perspective. It's all the stories we tell. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about some other things, and then I'll leave some space probably for another question or two. Let's all take a deep breath in. Exhale. So I am going to do another poem. How about this? I'm going to do another poem that will exemplify this next piece here. And this poem is, this one was hard for me when I delivered it. I delivered it at the Human Rights Foundation at their largest event of the year called Oslo Freedom Forum. And I was one of the speakers that was invited, and a lot of the people who were coming up on stage were human rights activists, people who literally had been kidnapped by their governments and tortured for months, people who had had their families murdered for the work that they're doing in the world. And I was invited to speak on this stage, and I felt so not worthy of being on that stage. And I was going, what is even my message? What do I even say to these people? And I walked into the auditorium, because it was like a multi-day event, and they had all these dictators on this giant poster, from North Korea and Venezuela and Putin from Russia, and just all these dictators like on this big like mural sized thing. And they gave these markers that were right there, and people could take the markers and write whatever they wanted on this thing. So they had like shithead written on people's foreheads, and you're going to burn in hell, and all of this stuff written on top of this. And that goes directly against how I view the world. It goes against what I think is actually the healthy way to be around this, because I felt like what was happening is there was a dehumanizing of these individuals as monsters, tyrants, as whatever. And yet the very reason why these individuals were able to commit such atrocious human rights violations is because they were dehumanizing the people they were doing it to. And so if we meet it with that same energy of dehumanizing, we're actually just, you've heard the saying, you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking or the same level of consciousness that created it. It's like, well, all we're doing is dehumanizing each other. We're not going to actually come to a solution. And so I got on stage with, I'm going to give that message. So you can imagine like the fear in me of saying this in an audience full of people like that. And I led with this poem, which I'd like to share with you, which is called Believe in Love. Can I have everyone take a nice deep inhale? Exhale. Why don't more people believe in love? Above all else, this is the question I have felt stirring deep in my heart. Why don't more people believe in love? Because if a person knew love was real, why would they choose to feel anything else? I guess I get to ask myself that very same question. The lessons of love repeat themselves, and yet I keep testing all the beliefs I've held on to for so long. The songs tell us the history of love. The movies show us the mystery of love. The art on this planet has granted us access to a collective heart we've been handed, but instead of handling it with care, we have filled it with despair, and there have been so many unanswered cries for help, it feels safer not to care. Collectively, we have turned our backs on the meek, taken advantage of the weak, and told the timid not to speak. But love can't be silenced. So through the generations of violence, there has been a message so timeless that beats deep inside us, and with each beat reminds us that love is still here. Loud and clear, that message rings out. Love is still here. It is near to each of us, and if we look through our fear, it reaches us. So why are so many people still afraid? The way they behave can't be love, can it? I mean, I try to understand it, but damn it, it hurts to see us pillage this planet endlessly, torture animals senselessly, kill people for the color skin we see, fueling bigotry while poverty leaves children homeless on the sidewalks. We ignore them so we cannot see their hungry eyes watch us eat ourselves into obesity. And yet in it all, I see the love. We bought the thing to feel worthy of the thing we bought. We ate the food to elevate our mood and ignore the inner war being fought. We have attacked those who think differently because feeling connected meant that the pain I see in them must be the pain I feel in me. And it hurts. It hurts to want to help and not know how. It hurts to want to run and have nowhere to go. And so we have numbed ourselves through violence, ignorance, food, drugs, sex, and anything we could to not feel the pain. And that has been our act of self-love. It seems insane that we would choose to love ourselves through abuse, but simply turn on the news and notice the patterns. They are clues that if we don't know how to win, then we are born to lose. So we can have empathy for those who feel empty, because when they act out, they are simply acting from love the best they know how. And what you and I can do right now is not allow ourselves to forget that even our worst enemies are choosing it. Everyone is choosing love the best they can with the tools they've got. So they definitely believe in love. It might be me that forgot. Inhale. Exhale. Thank you, fam. So, so this is a crucial piece to the art of choosing love, which is in recognizing that love is all there is. Love is actually all there is. I describe this. I have a spoken word poetry show that I've toured internationally a couple times called Permission to Think Freely. And I, in it, I'm going to like spoil some of it because I'm going to give it to you right now. There's a piece of it here that I want to share with you, which is that what is the opposite? Type it in the chat, actually. What's the opposite of hot? Just type it in the chat. Okay, like 2 people. There we go. Cold. Okay, the opposite of hot, cold. What's the opposite of light? Type it in. What's the opposite of light? Dark, 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 dark. Okay. So here's the crazy part about this, right? Cold and dark, they don't actually exist. They don't actually exist. Okay? Both of those words are simply words that we use to describe our relative experience of something. All we're talking about is a spectrum. When we talk about cold on that spectrum, we're actually talking about a spectrum of thermal heat. And somewhere along the spectrum of thermal heat, we say, oh, this is cold. This is cold. I feel cold. But there's not an empirical cold, because you can't say, that's why I could walk outside and say it's cold and someone else say, no, it's not, because there's not the presence of cold. And similarly with what we're talking about with light and dark, we're actually talking about a spectrum of visible light. And at a certain point on that spectrum, as there's less visible light, you say, this is dark, or it's not, but there's not a presence of darkness. And this is very important, because the solution to this is, if you want to warm up a room, you don't remove the cold, you add thermal heat. If you want to light up a room, you don't remove the dark, you add visible light. This is love, and the opposite of love being fear. And this confusion that people have of being in a space where they feel like there's on the spectrum of love, it gets to a spot where there's less experience of love here. It's like, okay, here's where, like, fear and all the outward pourings of actions of fear, like hate and all these things, right? And we say, okay, fear begins here. For some people, it's over here. Some people, it's over here. That's why it's not even really a thing. It's just a spectrum of love. And the important understanding of recognizing that if you want to add more love to the space, you can't remove the fear. You must add love. If we want to elevate the love on this planet, you must add love. But that starts with a very simple understanding that love is actually the only spectrum. So when someone's making a choice, they are making the loving choice for themselves. I am someone who was molested at the age of 5 by someone who's very close to me. And that one of the most difficult things to coming to this was facing off with that for myself. Where's the love here? Right? Where's the love of people who harm children in this way? Where is the love there? And in understanding that that person has experienced so much pain in their life, so much trauma in their own life, so much distortion in their own mind, that as a way of numbing, as a way of avoiding, as a way of trying to find love for themselves, they are choosing to take action like harming, affecting the innocence of a young child like myself. But make no mistake, that person is not doing it simply to just like, oh, this is going to let me just do this thing. They are searching for something. They are seeking something that they feel will help them feel better in some way, shape, or form. That is how they are choosing to be with the amount of pain that they are walking through the world with. That is their act of self-love. That is their act of trying to find connection. That is their act of trying to find pleasure to numb the pain. They're in some way, shape, or form. There is love when you trace any action from murder to molestation to the worst of the worst of the worst that you can find. If you trace it down, you will find where there is an attempt to add love. And it might be distorted because of how that person is viewing reality and that person's life experience up until that point. By the way, I'm not condoning the action. Make no mistake. Every breath I take on this planet is to end actions like that from happening and stop people from hurting people. But the only way that we can do that is by adding love to the space. And someone just said such a compassionate perspective. Compassion is the outward manifestation of self-love, of recognizing within myself, of attuning myself into a deep state of ownership of the love that's actually available here because I found it within myself, and I can extend that outward to someone else in their actions. I do not have to condone it. I can work with every minute on this planet to end those actions from happening. However, recognize that by finding the compassion, I am now taking action from a space of more love. That is how we add more love to the collective. I cannot remove the fear. I'm going to add the love, and by adding the love, the fear may dissipate. This is the understanding that is the core foundation of the art of choosing love. Because if you are not able to view the world's darkest shadow from a space of love, then the only way that you can possibly meet it is at the level of the shadow. If you can't find compassion for it, you are not taking action. Your action might look like, oh, I'm going to start this nonprofit to end child trafficking or whatever. But if you haven't found compassion from it, everything that you are taking is creating from the same frequency, and you won't solve the problem. And mind you, that it may still look exactly the same. You may find the compassion and still start a nonprofit that looks very similar, but the energetics of it will be different. The energy that we're holding, the frequency of love that we are embodying in ourselves, is setting our neurology into a space where it will pattern recognize at a different level. What your unconscious mind will process and move into your conscious awareness will be different when you are holding compassion in your body than if you're not. The thoughts that you have, the words that you speak, the action that you take will shift when you are embodying love at that level. And that is how we add love into the container, which is how we dissipate the fear that people are experiencing, which is how we solve the world's issues that we want to solve. This is the art of choosing love. I'm out of time. I could speak on this all day. You can probably tell all day long. This is my absolute passion. And so for those of you who are like, I want more, because I want more, I want to give more. Again, my podcast, my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube, all of the places, my online community, those are the places where I am committed to sharing this, helping you move through it, helping you continue to find how this applies to your own life, and creating a prosperous life for yourself and for the people around you and for this planet. Thank you, Chelsea, for all the work that goes into putting on an event like this. Can we show hands on the screen like this? Just appreciation for Chelsea, Jessica, Brenda, the team that is doing so much work to make this moment possible. I appreciate you. I know how much goes into this. And thank you to everyone for being here and being a part of this with me and letting me just like ramble on the stream of consciousness. I appreciate all of you for holding the space. And I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
Amazing. Adam, can we all take ourselves off mute, rub our hands together, generate some electricity, and just shower Adam with love and an ashtray.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adam.
All right. So we're going to be moving into